Hi, and welcome to a new episode of Behind the Uni, brought to you by the University of Gloucestershire, the podcast that covers everything to do with student life with your hosts, Hisham and Lewis. Let's dive in.
Thank you so much for tuning back into the Behind the Uni podcast. My name is Hisham, and normally we have Lewis, who's my co-host, but he's still on holiday, living his best life. So we have Lewis, the other Lewis, and magazine journalism student Hannah. And I guess I should say that you're also a sports journalism student. Yeah, they're in their third year, and we have a really, really special guest today, Will Weaving, who is a master's student.
Bachelor's.
Sorry.
Soon to be a master's student.
Soon to be a master's student, studying geography.
Yep.
But you're also heavily involved with UOG Sustainability.
Yes.
In what sense? What's your official title within that?
So I'm the Livesmart Coordinator. So like you said, full-time student, but I also work part-time with the university's Department of Sustainability, running a student-led project called Livesmart. So that's kind of what I do.
Amazing.
What a name is what Will Weaving. It's like a superhero name.
Yeah, Will Weaving.
Do you know what? Everyone always say
Will Wheaton.
Yeah, they're like, what's your middle name? And they're always really disappointed when I say Richard. They're like, I thought it was going to be www, but no, you've just ruined it.
I like that. But yeah, Will Weaving is here. And we're going to talk about everything UOG Sustainability. We're Behind the Uni. We're talking about everything and anything that's uni related. And at the University of Gloucestershire, sustainability plays a huge part in student experience and also the operations of the university as a whole. Mm-hmm. But before we get into like the businessy side of things of sustainability, Will, you're obviously wrapping up your bachelor's degree, right?
Yes, correct.
How are you feeling?
Okay, I've done like a lot of preparation to get to where I am now. So a lot of dissertation writing happened in the first semester. So like now it's submitted, it's all in. And I've only got 2 assignments left to do. So working away at it. Nearly there. Yeah.
Have you had a breakdown yet?
Several.
Nice.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Mainly sustainability related, like climate anxiety, the need for trees in Gloucestershire, all that, but getting there.
Well, that's really interesting. So your mental health has been affected by actually like what's happening around you, not necessarily what's happening in your life.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not actually the science of what's happening, it's looking at people's understanding of the science. Like we have a lot of deniers out there, a lot of people that just don't think. Yeah, flat earthers. Some people
tinfoil people
think it's a new stage of evolution. So like that's quite depressing because being a geography student, you get it rammed into you every day of the science of climate and biodiversity loss. So yeah, I think that's kind of like feeding into a lot of students' anxiety as well.
That's mad. It's mad that the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, denied climate change on like many occasions. Like it's not a real thing. It's fake news. And you're sitting there like, really though?
Yeah. And some, like, not saying he's correct, but some things he's saying is just a misunderstanding of the actual definition of climate change. People mess up the definition between what weather is and climate. They're two different things. But they're like, well, it's snowing outside. How come it's climate change? You know, we're talking about global warming, but there's snow. Like, what is
like global dimming, right? Which is like the opposite of global. We'll get into all that sciencey stuff because I'm really intrigued. As students, I guess, let's not beat around the bush. We don't have time to care. Do you know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds really bad, but like sometimes, like if you think about it, when you were in
yourself. No, I'm kidding.
But like when you were in first year of uni, were you recycling properly? With questions to everyone.
Really sorry. Well, I was not. I was in halls, and we would have a bin, and we would do like trick shots to try and get it in the bin from like the other end of the room.
Kobe.
So I'd have like a plastic cup and I'd be like, in the bin, woo! And I'd like hold it there, and then I kind of realised I probably should take that out, but I didn't.
I think I was all right with recycling, but like now, not to shame my housemates, but me and one of my housemates like always
shame them.
Always try and do the recycling properly, but the other 3 people that we live with, they'll take it out and put it in the boxes, but they didn't put it in the right ones. So then it like doesn't get taken. I'm like, well, you've just actually made my job harder because now I've got to
go out and separate.
I try and do the recycling, but not everyone is as cooperative, unfortunately.
I mean, I wasn't in halls, but I know there's a thing called bin politics, like who takes out the bin, what day. Like I did it last week,
100%.
You're doing it next week. So I think that's one thing LiveSmart's trying to do, is trying to make sustainability easier for students. So certain things like waste, how can we ensure that students feel the need to separate the recycling and take it out? So we're doing a few trialings at the moment. So we're doing like a food waste bin at Hardwick campus or something.
So like a student like actually on campus can...
Yeah, so they can like separate their food waste. And
Love that.
so we've done a lot of work recently speaking with students, like what would motivate you, using that word, what would motivate you to separate your waste? And a lot of the response we get is, well, we do all this, but we don't know what it's contributing to. So actually seeing the impact we're having would be a bigger step in, okay, I want to contribute to this. But like yourselves, I'm not going to lie and say I've been perfect my entire life. I'm still on a journey, still getting there. Yeah. I was once very unsustainable, only because I didn't know really what sustainability was. It wasn't really until coming into university and learning more about who I am as a person as well, where I thought, yeah, I want to be part of this change. So that's why I kind of got into LiveSmart, because I wanted to bring my experience and my background and show actually I was exactly the same as you, but when I found out it was a better life for me and my anxiety as well.
Well, yeah, and we'll talk about how sustainability and like greener living helps anxiety and mental health. There's so much I want to talk to you about. I'm going to go on my phone because I've got the questions.
Because you're texting, you're actually secretly texting.
For people that are watching the video podcast, I'm not being rude. I'm not on my phone texting someone. I've got my questions.
But your phone very much matches your jumper.
Yeah, it's
everyone's so coordinated in
Everyone's
this
so
podcast. It's great.
Yeah, I love it. I love that your t-shirt says "Save the Bees."
Yes.
Yeah.
Save the bumblebees.
So it's the
What
bumblebee.
about the other bees?
all the bees. I mean, that's another misconception. People are like, we need to save the honeybees. The bees are fine. The honeybees are fine. It's bumblebees that need conserving.
Wait a second. This is going to make me sound so stupid. There's a difference between... Wait, what's a honeybee? What's the difference between a honeybee and a bumblebee?
So there are many different species of bees. I'm not a bee expert. This is very much my partner's area.
Don't they all make honey?
No. No.
I'm actually quite shocked
So
about that.
some bees will just like pollinate certain plants, other bees will pollinate other plants. So that's why we need all the bees to conserve all of that. But honeybees just do honey. But a lot of people will have honeybees in like urban settings and they're like, we're saving the bees. But honeybees are fine. Their populations are skyrocketing. It's the bumblebee population which are going downhill. So the bumblebees are like these cute fluffy things.
I love that you're just pointing at your nipple.
Yeah.
And you said fluffy and I was like,
My nipple is a bee. But you also get like bees because some bees work in like colonies, and then you also get some bees which just work by themselves. They're called solitary bees.
I like those bees.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I need to
We should take
reteach
a quiz.
myself.
What kind of bee are you?
Yes, I'm sure there's a BuzzFeed quiz somewhere.
I'm going
Definitely
to break some news to you now. Do you know, have you seen the Boo movie?
Yes,
It's not a documentary.
I need that.
I'm glad. Because
Wait, what?
I'm glad because the
God, yeah. What? Bees can't talk.
bees can't talk. They don't play jazz.
Do you like jazz?
Yeah, we'll talk about that stuff. I want to know more about wildflowers and how it helps, because you're really heavily involved with kind of increasing the biodiversity on campus.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about all that. But to start off, can you give us like a roundup of what LiveSmart is? I know you've kind of just touched on it just now, but for anyone that's listening, anyone that's who's not aware of the university or what we actually have going on, what is LiveSmart? How can students get involved?
Yeah. So LiveSmart was designed by students for students. So I think it came around in about 2017 before I came to the university. And we essentially gave a group of students a task to go out and speak to students and see what it is that they cared about. And there was a common theme that we was getting. So some students were like, we're really poor. We have no money and we literally don't know how to save and pay the rent for next month. We'd also have some students to say, our mental health is terrible. Like, we've got so many deadlines, we don't know how to deal with it. And as a result, it's just really wearing away at us. And then, of course, we get students from across the globe, some more locally, some further afield. And another theme is students were saying, we just feel like we don't fit in with the community. Like, we don't feel as we're a relevant part. We actually feel like we're fighting against the community. So LiveSmart developed is kind of a program for students to get involved so they can save money, learn hints and tips of how to do that, boost their well-being, get involved with the local community, all whilst having a positive impact for the wider planet. So we run quite a few different things, collaborating with different people from across the university cohort. So certain events that we run, I been developing the garden this semester, so getting students down to the garden to plant some vegetables, build on their mental well-being, kind of build a sense of community, and also save money because you don't need to buy vegetables. And also just educating students on a bit more of the sustainability side of things. So we also have a blog. We commission blogs for students to write. We also write blogs ourselves on a whole diverse range of topics, so students can really learn exactly what it is with LiveSmart. And it goes back to those kind of points of we want to make uni as easy as possible for students. But we also want to be real with students too. So LiveSmart's about kind of tying and weaving in those secure fabrics to ensure that sustainability lives throughout the whole time here.
I love that. That's your brand, weaving things.
Yeah, I totally did that.
It's definitely really cool to see, because I graduated in 2019, and obviously LiveSmart was around then. But like seeing how heavily LiveSmart is involved in campuses and what they do around the campus, what you do around the campus is really, really cool. And I guess it kind of feeds back to this whole idea of like sustainability, because I think a lot of people think sustainability has to do with climate change or the physical implications on the planet.
Yep.
But sustainability can come in many forms, whether
Absolutely.
it's like nurturing relationships with people, also nurturing relationships with yourself, taking care of yourself. So now that you've explained LiveSmart, this is going to be a really loaded question. How do you define sustainability?
Oh, how long's a piece of rope?
Yeah.
It is one of those topics and one of those definitions which is really hard to put down. There's been people that have written books on just defining sustainability, because it's one of those things where it's like an umbrella. It dips into so many different things. Equality, diversity, it goes into climate change, it goes into lots of different things, biodiversity. But sustainability in essence is basically trying to live in a way which provides for the people in the present day without jeopardizing future generations to come. And there's quite a neat little way of looking at that, and it's called the triple bottom line. So this feeds into the definition.
Sorry, what was that?
The triple bottom line.
Triple bottom line.
Yes.
Sounds like a drink at Moose.
Yeah.
Yeah. It will be a sustainable drink
will.
if it is.
What does that mean?
But essentially, the triple bottom line historically was used by businesses as a way of assessing their impact as a business, so how successful they were. So it's generally at the end of a spreadsheet. And it brings in the people, profit, and planet element. So essentially, sustainability is something that will feed into all three of those things. So as an example, if someone was to walk to work as opposed to driving, well, walking has, benefits with increased mental well-being, connectiveness with nature. So that's the people side of things. Profit, cheap. You don't have to pay to walk.
Free.
And then planet, zero carbon emissions. And that's the definition of sustainability. Those three interlinking things combine to form sustainability, and it's having that people, profit, planet element. And that's something that we bring into LiveSmart to have ultimate sustainability.
Have you guys ever seen the LiveSmart logo?
No.
I'm sure we'll put it up somewhere. I don't know, we'll figure out. Mr. Editor Man will do that. But the LiveSmart logo has the three elements, right?
Yes.
Yeah. It's never registered ever until you said that. But
Wow.
yeah, I guess you don't really think about sustainability in terms of how it affects you. I don't know. When you guys hear sustainability, what do you think?
Like, my brain just immediately goes to, I know it's not, well, this is part of it, but like, it's like my brain immediately goes to, oh my God, I need to like do as much as I can. Like I need to get like shampoo bars and like all of that kind of stuff. Like I can't buy anything that's in plastic anymore. And like, obviously that's part of it, but I'm like, there's way more to it than that. Like, I guess that's just like, you feel guilty because you feel like you're never like doing enough, but
yeah, I definitely feel that all the time. Like I might actually being sustainable, whatever the hell that means. But like I definitely do have guilty conscious. But then again, I enact change in certain aspects. But then there are some things I'm really blind to it.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like, how do you define sustainability?
How long can I go as a broke student before having another mental breakdown? I think that's. I was half saying it to be funny, but I actually think that's actually quite serious. Like how long can I go before I snap? And it's very far, I tell you. It's so. I'm like a piece of bamboo. I just can't.
But
snap.
it's like about pushing your boundaries to actually like, in a way, be kind to yourself, to your environment. Like, is that what you mean?
Yeah. Be
like not being frivolous with what you spend money on.
Yeah,
what you're
dude.
buying.
Like just being like really chill, and I don't know why I do this voice, but just being.
it's kind of like being more intentional with what you're doing. Like, no, like when recycling, no one's like going to be perfect, but if you're more conscious and more like intentional, then you're naturally going to be a bit better about it, I guess.
Because I don't know, for me, I haven't been in like a person that enacts change in my life in terms of some stuff that could benefit me personally or benefit the planet or people around me. But I have been in situations where I've been living with people who are really, really like super strict with the recycling, are really, really good. Like my housemate throughout university, shout out to Mara, she was so good with all that stuff. Like she basically made a schedule, the bin politics, where we're like, you guys need to do that, we need to put this in this box. We had like specific boxes, we had a food waste bin, and I think as a student household that is very advanced for a student household to have a food waste bin.
Politics.
And we took care of that. Like it never went moldy. Actually, that's a lie. It probably has gone moldy. But even like when we were students in our third year house, Mara bought going back to bees, like a little pack of like wildflower seeds, and we put it in our garden. And I don't know if anyone is living in Mahal Parade, in 29 Mahal Parade, am I even allowed to say an address?
I don't know, but I live at 37.
Can you go and check on my bee flowers?
Or just kick down the door. Kick down the door, go, where are the bees? Where are the bumblebees?
But yeah, we planted them, and like something like that. I don't know. It's gonna sound really selfish, but like that made us feel good. So when I guess what I'm trying to say is when you do, I'm gonna use air quotes, sustainable things. Is it okay to feel good about it?
Absolutely. That's part of it. Like, if you can feel good from doing something, that's only going to encourage you to do more things sustainable. And that's part of the people element. It's part of, actually, I feel so much better after doing something and feeling like I'm providing something to the wider environment and wider community. So, yeah, absolutely. I tell you what, every time I do something, I'm like, I'm so good. Like,
I'm so zen.
I'm queen. I did that. Yeah.
Do you ever see that TikTok that goes like, am I better than everyone else?
Yeah,
It's like walking into a cafe and getting an oat milk latte. Am I better than everyone?
Literally me whenever I order like a vegan burger.
Me earlier. Yeah.
I'm like, but it's like, I don't know. Like I've definitely started getting that immediate gratification of like, I'm not using plastic today. I'm using a reusable cup.
I get it when I'm like going to a food shop in Lidl and like there's peppers in plastic and then loose peppers. And I'm picking the loose peppers and I'm like,
Do you know what even feels better? When you go to Aldi and you get the wonky fruit and vegetables.
Yeah, wonky carrots.
I'm like, you know what? This is good.
Do you know what feels even better?
What? Not eating.
When you take like a pack of 4 cider, you beat it up, then the staff discount it, and then you buy it.
That's not okay. You and your money saving tips.
Again, we do not associate ourselves with the.
Once again, we would like to disengage with Lewis Holman's actions.
It's okay. This is a bullying podcast.
But it's one of those things. Like, I think more students do it because I think a lot of people. I mean, I speak as if I'm like an old person, but like my cohort of students when I graduated in 2019.
Your generation.
My day.
I know. Literally, I was born in '98. I don't know. I'm talking like I'm from the '70s, but like. I don't know. I just didn't have a lot of friends that actually spoke about it. But now, like working with the university and speaking to students day in and day out, it's a huge, huge part of their life.
Yeah.
And obviously, we've got Livesmart, we've got the sustainability team. We'll talk about what kind of the university is doing and what you're doing as well. But have you seen like students doing cool stuff lately? Any stuff that you've been involved with that you want to talk about? Because I know you have, and I kind of want to give you the mic to talk about what you want to talk about right now.
Yeah, so it's differed throughout the years. So when I first joined uni, it was when the green team was ran by someone. It was a president called Yolande Boyce, and she was, I think that's how you say your name. Sorry if you're hearing this, Yolande. And I remember sitting in this kind of lecture theatre, and she was like, "I've arranged a climate strike later on today. You're all welcome to come." I had something else on, so I couldn't go to it, but I thought. Wow, that woman is powerful. Like, and I think in the end, like 1,000 people, like,
oh wow,
MPs, people from the local schools, loads of people showed up to this climate strike, and I was like, whoa, like, am I joining a uni of change makers? This is so cool. So I think that's what like fueled my kind of fire to maybe do something similar. So there's lots of things students are doing that I've seen. So in the Livesmart cohort, one thing we trying to do is get students to write blogs for us on sustainability topics of their choice. And like you guys are kind of brought in, it's on an array of topics. So we've had like blogs on equality, decolonizing the curriculum, through to climate change, fast fashion, being vegan for the environment, all those different things. And these students that write them, they're amazing. Like if anyone wants to check out these blogs, uniofgloss.blog/Livesmart. that's the place to go, because there's so much information on there. It's not false information as well, because that's one thing we tackle in LiveSmart, is everything is kind of at face value.
Fact checked.
Yeah, they're
Not
like
fake news.
peer-reviewed journals.
I love that.
Especially mine. So yeah, they're a really good resource. And then obviously one thing I'd done recently was, as a student, kind of trying to achieve more biodiverse rich campuses, so working with the Woodland Trust and the Estates team.
I love this.
And we planted 105 native trees on Oxtalls and Park campus, just to try and provide something for the university community. But it has so many different added benefits, and it's not just about planting the trees. Like, there's so many different things that's going to happen now those trees are in the soil. So yeah, that was incredible.
That's such a cool thing, the fact that you can come back here in 20, 30 years time and just see, like, this is what I done at the uni. Like, this is literally,
I planted this tree.
We've got a legacy here.
We've got a
now.
legacy. That's so true.
This is the fruit of my labour. How many trees is it, sorry?
105.
105 trees
I
are
planted
here forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless they're cut down. But
I will be
Hopefully
fuming.
If
I
I
would
come
come back. I will
back
come
in
back.
20 years' time and they're cut down,
Yeah.
suing.
I don't think they'll be cut. But even if they cut it down in 70 years, and if I'm not alive, I'll come back and haunt them.
just take a knife
We'll
and, like,
break out of the nursing home with our walking sticks.
carve your name into the tree.
It's mine. Yeah, because Hannah and I went to the tree planting.
Yeah.
How many did you plant that day?
2.
Yeah, I planted one. And it's actually, can I just say, getting there, I'm not green fingered, and I'm not. I don't get.
No,
down and
we
dirty.
would try. We were like, what is this called? Is it called a shovel
Is
or
it called
a
shovel?
trowel? Or
Like, it's a spade. I'm like, oh. But I was like, oh my god, I'm so scared. I'm gonna plant this tree wrong. But it was so easy. And it was so fun.
yeah.
So I mean, thank you so much for organising something like that. Because like
You're
you
so
said, it's like you've actually enacted physical change. It'll be here for years and years and years. And like, in like 40 years time, those trees, they'll be like, oh, who planted those here? Will Weaving, class of 2022. Like, that's really cool. And sadly, you during the tree planting, you weren't able to come because you had COVID.
I know.
Which is
What
really,
a
really
time.
sad. I know. But you know what? At least they're in there. Do you go back
You were
and
there
water
in
them?
spirit.
Oh, I'm always at those trees. I'm going through. I'm like, oh, you're a bit wonky. I'm just going to move you slightly, or adjusting it. Or
What's the little one that's, there's that awkward one
Yeah.
that's just...
Have you noticed the lonesome Christmas tree on Park campus?
Oh, a non-native tree.
Is it God.
Non-native
It's
tree.
stressing you out.
That's partly the reason why I wanted native trees on Park, because I was like, Park's lovely. Okay, get it, but there's a massive unbalance here. There's so many non-natives.
It used to be like an arboretum of some sort back in the day, and it was going to be a zoo. Like, there's so much history behind it.
Yeah, so I kind of spoke to Estates, because I know one of the trees fell down and they were replanting it with the same tree. And I can't remember, it was like a North American species or something. And I was like, why is it we're planting a non-native? Why not go for natives? Like, we know the scientific benefits of them. And it was because of that point of what it historically was. I think it's now, if a tree goes down, we have to plant like for like. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to plant loads of trees then.
Can you explain what a native tree is? Because I didn't know this until I spoke to you about it.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, that actually makes sense. But yeah, please explain.
Yeah, so a native tree is, and you have native plants as well. So a native tree is a tree which established itself on these grounds naturally. So they wasn't brought here by humans. They were here, they know what they like, and they grow in places which they like and prefer. So we have amazing native trees. Like the English oak is probably one of the best native trees we have. It provides for like 2,300 different species. So like mad. That's like that's not taken into account like microorganisms and bacteria. That's just like fungi, mosses, insects, birds, mammals.
Wow.
And
the more you know.
Literally.
And non-native trees, they're trees which didn't naturally establish themselves here. They were brought over. And because of that, they haven't co-evolved with our species. So native trees, as a result, they provide so many wildlife benefits. So the trees we've got in Park, obviously we haven't got 105 of the same trees because that's not biodiversity. We've got 105 of different tree species. So we've got species that would provide early sources of nectar and pollen. We've got species that would provide nutritional rich berries for birds on their migration from like Africa. And we've also got trees which are like perfect habitat for nesting birds. Then you have non-native trees. So there's a lot of conifers at Park. Yeah. And I think if you do a Google search of London plane trees, these are the worst trees because they're hybrids. They're not even natural, right? They're hybrids. They're genetically different.
They're not pedigree.
Yeah, ew. And you could type in like wildlife benefits of London plane, and it would be like, grey squirrels can sleep there. And grey squirrels are invasive as well. They're not even meant to be here either. So I'm like, okay. And then if you type in like wildlife benefits of an English oak tree, honestly, you'll be reading for days. There's just so many. And that's why it's so important to have native trees, because it supports our native ecosystem that's evolved here.
I love
the English Oak Tree fan club.
Literally, I love how passionate you are about it. This is my favorite thing about doing this podcast, is I get to speak to all the students who are doing cool things and living their best life, and I'm learning so much. But it's just such a cool thing that you've done. Like,
but also a massive shout out to all the students and staff that actually signed up and got involved with it as well. Because I was really nervous. I wasn't sure if it was just, originally when I sent the form out, I had 3 people. Yeah. And I thought, oh my Christ, like, we're going to be busy. We're going to be busy, okay? Yeah. We're going to be planting trees for next Christmas. But I had over 20, both students and staff members, lecturers as well got involved. Massive support from the natural and social sciences lecturers as well. They helped me get so much student engagement, and without those guys, I wouldn't have been able to achieve it. And I'm saying this on here as well because this is what I was told and I want it to be true. But they said, based on the engagement of this event, we'll decide whether we do this again in the future. And because we got a really good turnout, I'm hoping they do.
Yeah.
So,
I really hope they do, because it's...
I want to do it again. It was so much fun.
210 trees next year.
210. Every year we just add more.
Yeah.
Until Park Campus is just one big tree, like nursery.
I feel like as well, a lot of students want to help, but beyond like recycling such, I don't know where to start. And like you mentioned before about not being able to see the results, and like being able to see the result, like you can see like the trees grow and such, and you're like, that's tangible results you can see. Like I've had many drunk conversations about, the red squirrels are the OGs, like the grey squirrel, like we don't like them, but where do you actually start?
Lovely drunk conversations.
Oh yeah, this is a moon smoking area. It's like where do you start with helping? So it's really good that projects are like that, where people go, I want to help out. There's an open goal for me to help out.
Yeah. And that's the thing as well. This is like a massive talk within the ecology sector as well. Most ecologists haven't actually seen what a natural ecosystem looks like. The UK is one of the most depleted ecosystems. Is that what you're just about to say?
No, because it's so bizarre you brought that up. I literally read an article about this the other day.
Yeah.
I was like, modern ecologists, the people that work within the sector, don't know what nature looks like.
No, and it's crazy.
God.
We think we have an idea. Weird? And to be honest with you, I don't think even I know what a true ecosystem looks like. I mean, unless I went to places like Poland or Romania, where they're one of the few which have an amazing ecosystem still intact, you're never going to truly know what it actually looks like. You can read until you're blue in the face about what a true ecosystem looks like, but it's one of those things, unless you've experienced it, you don't know. And that's one of the biggest things with sustainability as well, and like wildlife, is some people don't see the benefits of changing their ways or changing their attitudes because they didn't know what they had before to change back to. And that's such a big thing. And I think that's what we're trying to achieve. That's why it's not, the LiveSmart isn't just about read this blog. It's about come to this event and see how it helps you, and you'll leave feeling so much more better. And the responses we get from like student engagement events we do have always been really positive. And I think for that main reason, we're practically showing people that how good it feels to do something like that, which is a big step for the tree planting event. I wanted people to get involved, get dirty.
They did,
and they definitely did. Yeah.
For me, for someone who is technically an international student, like I lived in Egypt till I was 12, moved to the UK, went through the whole secondary school system, did A-levels. So I lived here for like a good, I want to say 8-7 years before I came to university. And it wasn't until I really came to university where I was introduced to the concept of being sustainable and all that stuff. And I don't know if it's like my own childhood upbringing in Egypt where this kind of conversation is not available, that resource of actually kind of living in I'm using air quotes, less developed countries, where you don't have that kind of like school of thought, be like, okay, after we've taken care of ourselves, let's take care of what's around us. What should we try to do better as a university to kind of encourage students who might not care about sustainability or being eco-friendly? What can we do to kind of like help get the word out there?
I think making it a bit more personal to the students. So I think sustainability within their own discipline would be great. So I have many talks with students and I say, within your course, do you talk about sustainability? And they're like, no, not really. So I think seeing how, because sustainability has an impact on every single discipline, every industry. And I think if students can understand how it's impacting upon what they're interested in, so if you're a fashion student, if you're a TV production student, even if you're a geography student, like bringing in sustainability into your area, I think that might be a bit of a kickstart to be like, do you know what, I'm going to start doing a bit more of my own research to see what other impacts this area is having. And I think that's one thing that we could be doing as a university is a bit more education for sustainability within courses. And I think that's something we're trying to work towards as an establishment.
And I think like the work that Dr. Alex Ryan, who is the head of sustainability at the university, I'm not here to kind of like do the businessy things, but like I know from conversations that I've had with people at the university that is a huge aspect of what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And it's something that obviously has been happening with some courses. I remember when I was graduating in 2019, the cohort of that year in the fashion design course like did the whole fashion show, their whole final collection was focused on sustainably and ethically sourced fabrics, which I was like, that's really, really cool. Because
Really
that's
cool.
something that you're already like, your graduate collection is like such a vital part of who you are as a student studying fashion. So to kind of shine the light on that was really, really cool. And then something that we're doing we've done as a university is getting rid of paper. And I guess that goes back to like kind of trees and nature. Things like that a lot of companies do, like greenwashing. Like we did it because we had actual like research that done. The students were like, we don't need prospectuses to be on paper, so we got rid of the prospectus and we made it paperless. And then other universities followed and started doing that, which is really, really cool. We want more universities to get rid of their paper prospectus because it's pointless.
Yeah.
But there are so many other things that companies do that are done in the face of being sustainable, but they're actually not sustainable.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? Because it makes me angry sometimes when I read about something and I'm like, this is a PR thing, this is not real.
Yeah.
How have you, like, what does LiveSmart do, what the sustainability team do to kind of like educate and combat greenwashing? And what is greenwashing?
Yeah, wow. Oh, I'm so annoyed you brought this up because it was one of my jargon words that I had for later. But
I'm so sorry.
I can think of another one, it's fine. But greenwashing is essentially where companies say they're doing something for environmental positivity when actually the wider aim isn't that great.
Yeah.
So, for example, I've been shopping into so many shops and they've been like, yeah, we're vegan or sustainably sourced. And then like on the next shelf, there's like loads of plastic. And I'm like, okay, well, your business isn't really for the environment. Or like a lot of travel firms, not naming any names, a lot of travel firms would be like, yeah, this flight would be off like no carbon or whatever. That was totally made up. But then they're still doing so many unsustainable practices. And it is annoying, like, because it's profiteering. They're using it as a ploy to make more money.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame because we don't have time to be trying to, because we have it a lot. We have people arguing with us saying, yeah, but this company's doing that and this company's being amazing. And, we don't know what to do anymore. Then we're trying to be good and choose more sustainable things. But now you're telling me to be careful because some companies are actually lying to us. So it's finding that balance. And we always say, try and do your own research. We've done our own podcast on greenwashing. So we had a lot of different guest speakers who are kind of experts in those fields come in and talk to us to spot the signs of greenwashing because they're really good. Like I fall into greenwashing so many times.
I do it all the time.
Even now, when I'll be buying shirts and I'm like, oh, cool, this is a charity. And then I'm like, oh, wait, they used oil to make this shirt? Right, okay. But it is really annoying because, like I said, people are trying to do the right thing and they're getting it rammed down their necks that you have to start doing the right thing. And then all of a sudden they're being told off for supporting a company that might not be necessarily true to what they're claiming to be. So part of LiveSmart is about that educational thing as well. Like I said, we've got the podcast. We've done a lot on blogs about this. And we also do a lot within our team as well to make sure, because we're only human, but to make sure that we're not also greenwashing, because it can be a slippery slope to go down. We've also had conversations with the university's marketing department about how do you ensure that you're not greenwashing people. And so, yeah, it's a very strange thing, but it's a shame that a lot of companies are like, oh, people are waking up to in the environment. Let's use this as a ploy to make some money, which is a shame because it kind of hides what we're trying to achieve. as a society. But I think people are starting to wake up to that concept of greenwashing now. I mean, no offense, but I kind of assumed maybe they won't know what greenwashing is.
Yeah.
That would be one of my words. But it's amazing you know what it is. So, yeah.
Because it's something, I work in marketing, and it's something that I don't want to do. I don't want to lie to prospective students about what as a university we do. Like, I know that we talk about it because we've got ways of like evidencing what we're doing, which I think, I'm not naming names, but like some other universities say, oh, we're sustainable. And I'm like, where are the receipts?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Where's the tea? Yeah, this is the tea.
Yeah, where's the tea? Show me. And it's like, we try to not do that. Hannah Lewis, have you ever like seen a brand where they're like, I don't know, they've been eco-friendly, and I'm air quoting eco-friendly, and then you're like shocked by what their actual practices are like?
I don't want to potentially stop any brand deals I may have in the future. No, I feel like what the uni done is really good with the whole prospectuses.
Yeah.
Because Park Campus is incredibly green, and the whole kind of marketing towards the Park Campus is like it's nature and uni put together.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, with my prospectuses I got from here and a couple other unis, I use them to prop up my TV and like, and I just
at least you kept them. That's really cool.
I kept them for like 6 months and then threw them out.
But you know, it's even heartbreaking. Like, obviously, I have colleagues who would go to like UCAS fairs or like higher education fairs where there's 200 universities. Just like do like a tiny bit of maths. 200 universities. That each stand has a minimum of like maybe 1,000 to 2,000 prospectuses that has a minimum of 200 pages, and that's just one fair.
I don't think I've ever looked through a whole prospectus in my life.
No.
People pick them up, and I've seen it happen, and it made me so sad. Where they're at a higher education fair, they pick up a prospectus or any form of like leaflet or pamphlet, which I understand is a good way of getting information. Not anymore, in my opinion. But
you get given loads when you go to
given
events like
loads.
that. You have like 10, and
then I've seen people just put them in the bin on their way out.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's just gone to landfill. Like,
Exactly.
and it's so bad.
If you think, right, paper, this might be this breaking news, paper comes from trees.
Here's a fun fact.
Wait,
Wow.
It
Oh
can't,
God,
this
did not
is
know
big.
that.
So you think like cut down a tree to make a prospectus, to then the prospective go back in the bin.
Yeah.
So
And
like,
it's not being recycled.
yeah, and you think about how many unis you go to. Like some people I knew went to 10, 15 unis, got 15 prospectuses. And then what happened to most of them? Like they keep 3. They're like, these 3 I might go to, and the rest of them, well, I can't give them back because I've read them through them. So, well, there's a bin. I'm going to go in there.
And this is why UOG kind of, it was based on student feedback, being like, we don't read the prospectus. We just care about our course, which is so true. If I don't know, you're obviously studying geography now. When you were applying, did you always know you want to study geography?
Wow, it kind of differed. I was kind of one of those people that was like, I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I was like, do you know what? I love nature. What can I do? Geography. Right, sorted. Yeah.
But like, what I mean is you weren't looking at like the performing arts section or
no.
the business section.
No.
But that's in their perspective.
Not with this bully.
That's why we got rid of the paper prospectus, because we realised students, young people, know exactly what they want. Well, not know exactly, but they have a really good like set of skills to help them narrow down what they want.
And you can also look online.
You can search.
And like,
Yeah.
But most people will search online. Like they have to go online to book a space on the higher education fair, to go to the higher education fair to talk to the universities and pick up a prospectus. So why don't we just cut this whole weird like system and just give them the prospectus right there, right online?
It makes sense though, doesn't it? Like, even if you have to update, like, oh, actually, we put on that prospectus about this course, but there's going to be some slightly different modules on it this year. Oh, we'll just quickly update it, and then bam, sorted.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, because if you print something wrong, let's say sports journalism, you forget out the O in sports, and you're like, right, now we've got to print loads of new prospectuses.
Yep. So
you basically just like you say, you can just update it online as opposed to like printing out an entirely new thing. And also, it's quite good on this podcast that you actually aren't using paper, that you actually are using your phone, for instance, for the notes.
I mean, I'm gonna call myself out. The first 3 episodes that we recorded, I printed out paper on the questions, and I was like, hold on a second. I was like, what am I doing? I was like, why am I doing that? Because I was like, there's no point.
it is stuff that like flies over your head though, like the prospectus. Like you don't, or any event you go to and get loads of leaflets and people just hand you stuff and you take it and you're
I
like,
hate
okay.
leaflets.
And it just
Yeah.
goes over your head, and then it isn't until you realise and you're like, oh my God,
There's so
how
much.
much like random bits of paper I have
Like, I remember going to,
that I've
like,
never read.
prior coming to, so I started university in 2016, and this is pre any form of like digital, like prospectuses or digital revolution in higher education. So I would go to a fair, or I'd go to an open day, and I would leave with at minimum 3 tote bags, because I love a tote bag.
Tote bag girly.
Tote bag girlies, shout out. So I would always go to the stands. I have a tote bag first, get a tote bag, because I know I'm going to be carrying some books, literal books, and I would go around and get them all. I would go home and be like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Why am I just carrying like 4 books, like literally? And they're hefty. Some of the prospectuses are hefty. So yeah, we went paperless. I know that other universities have gone paperless, and again, shout out to them, because it's so important. That's something in like our sector that we don't talk about that often, and sustainability is so important. Also, another like aspect of sustainability that I love is like accessibility as well. Is actually making things accessible to people, and part of going paperless as a university is that someone might be blind, like they can't read a book, and it's not available in Braille, obviously. So going paperless with the app that we have now makes it accessible. How have you come across any challenges where you've kind of created a piece of content or working on something for LiveSmart where that has been an aspect of it, like actually making things accessible?
Yeah, so one thing, because obviously if you don't live with a disability yourself, it can be quite hard to see like how you're impacting some people. And I've got dyslexia, so sometimes when I speak, it doesn't come out as clear, or sometimes the point I'm trying to make doesn't come out how I think it's going to come out. But I don't understand it. I'm like, well, I just aced that. So I don't even know if this is clear right now. I could be speaking Spanish and you wouldn't know. But there's certain things like when I do social media posts, or if I do videos of Instagram, and I'm like, hey, it's Will from LiveSmart. For ages, I was just leaving it at that and doing like fancy words and things. And it wasn't until like maybe a month ago, I seen someone do something similar and they put captions on. And I thought, wow, like I have never even thought that there could be people that just are deaf, like they can't hear it.
They have no idea what you're saying.
And they have, and just me lipping. And I thought, wow, that's something so small, but it can completely change someone's experience of what we're providing as a service. So every time I do a story now, I always put captions on before I do anything else, and then I can edit around the captions because I'm like, actually, that's my priority. And then like another thing I'm trying to do is weigh up the balance of make my backgrounds interesting but not distracting, because I'm equally one of those people that if I'm watching something and there's something going on in the background, I'm like, I'll probably fixate to that and not what the actual person's doing.
Me.
So so those elements I'm trying to bring in, just so I can kind of make the focus of the message the main thing, and so everybody can kind of enjoy it. But it's so hard, and we're still not perfect. There's still other elements we need to work at, but it's part of that journey which I was talking about earlier, to being sustainable and ensuring that everyone can get involved.
I think it takes a village.
Yeah,
it definitely takes a village. It's a lot of different people coming together and bringing ideas, and I guess that's kind of what like you said, the people, the planet, and what was the third one? Profit. The 3 different elements. Like I might know a lot of stuff about the profit element of it, but someone else might bring the people element and the planet element, and it's about that's why I love the LiveSmart community, because I mean, it says what it says on the tin. It's a community that helps you live smarter. But it's so true, because it's all about working smart and not hard.
Oh yeah.
Because if there's no point in, I don't know, wasting food and then moaning about being broke. Obviously, it's your prerogative. People do live your life how you want to live it, but that's how it goes hand in hand. Yeah. And I saw actually a blog that you guys did about food waste, because it was Food Waste Week a couple of weeks back, and I was reading it and I was like, oh my god, I do all of these things. And I felt guilty, and I don't know about, I'm sure that you guys do something in your life that kind of make you feel, ooh, like have you recently, have you done anything recently you're like, ooh, I've just hurt the planet? It's okay to say no. I don't want to expose you.
I definitely have, but I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
There has been times where I've been lazy. I'm I know, for instance, let's just say we have a cardboard container with a plastic top. I'm like, I know I should take this off and put that in recycling and put this in the bin. But I'm like, instead I'll just like open the bin, go across the room and just like take turns chucking it in instead.
Or
oh yeah, I love that.
Yeah, the thing I did recently was like with my like skincare, like I love skincare, and the majority of my skincare is like cruelty free, and you know, try and be like sustainable as possible, and like I've got some stuff that's in tins rather than plastic or whatever.
Nice.
But like the first cleanser that I ever used that like did really good for my skin was not cruelty free, and I was like, oh, I just want it back, like just for a bit, because my skin's really bad and I need it. So I bought it, and I was like, I feel really guilty, and I've literally been like,
is it a big company?
It's CeraVe.
Oh wow, what? That just literally blew my mind. It's not.
But I've been like, what are you shocked about?
CeraVe's not cruelty free.
CeraVe, no. But I've literally been like, I used to use it like last year, and then I was using like the Inky List and stuff like that for a while, which I still use, but like the cleanser, I was like, I just want it back. And I've literally been deciding whether to get it for like 2 months, because I was like, I shouldn't. But my skin's really bad, so I want it.
I use that cleanser.
Here's a question, right? Let's just say, this is something I'm considering. If you do, let's just say you do 10 things right for the planet, does that then equate for you like to get Serapine, for instance, get that product with Serapine? If you've done this amount right, can you do this little bit wrong? Does it work out like that?
I guess life is about balance, but I don't know if it comes to if you can't really. I don't know how you feel about it.
Well, what we say in LiveSmart is try and do more good than bad. But ultimately, we're only human. So, for example, even I make mistakes. I don't have an electric car, can't afford one. So I have to drive petrol. I just have to. I rarely drive. Like, I only ever drive. My parents are like, we haven't seen you in ages, come see us. I'm like, fine. And
that's a move.
I'm like, oh.
No, I'm trying to save the planet, Mum.
Yeah. God, leave me alone. But, I mean, where do we go? Because the reason I have to drive, and I'm forced to drive, is because we don't have the facilities. We haven't got amazing links to do that, and it's the same with you.
Also, like trains and things like that are expensive. Massively expensive. Like, and where's home for you?
So there's a place called Sharpness. It's about 30 minutes. Barely on the map.
Where?
It's like smack bang in the middle between Bristol and Gloucester.
Okay.
So it's about 30-ish minutes away. Not far. But I mean, the nearest train station is like Cam, but you've even got to get like a 15-minute car journey from there. So I may as well just drive. But there's no facilities for us. We're not well connected like some of our European neighbours. No. They can cycle everywhere, like in the Netherlands, for example. But it's the same with you. I mean, where does it go? Because you need that product.
Yeah, or like I tried shampoo bars, and for the life of me, I've tried like 4 different ones, and I was just I was like, I need, and I still like would be on the lookout for them, but I was like, do you know what, I've had enough trying all these bars in my hair looking like a rat.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go back to my old shampoo.
I know this is going to sound really bad, but like I had a phase in third year and I was like, I'm going to be zen and I'm going to be sustainable. And I'm going to buy shampoo bars and like shower, like plasticless shower gel bottles, which like I went to Lush, which I'm not sure how good Lush is. I'm sure they're a great brand. But I then continued to buy a plastic container to put in my bar in, because I was like, otherwise it will melt in the shower. And I was like, what's the point? What have I just done? So it's like, I don't know. It's about, I guess going back to your question, Lewis, it's about kind of figuring out, for me, it's about figuring out what works for you. But you have to do, like you said, more good than bad.
Yeah, and as much as it's about individual action, we're also relying on kind of people higher up than us to make the right decisions for systems change. We need them to be on board with this, so we can then have the options to make the right choices, because sometimes we're just forced to make the bad decisions. Like getting public transport should not be expensive. Like driving should become more expensive, in my opinion, but we should be well connected enough to be able to just jump on a train and get anywhere in the UK without having to think, oh well, I'll probably just drive. So as much of it is about us making individual changes, which is good, it's about us trying to get people higher up in Parliament to also make the changes, which allows us to do more greener things.
And this is why I love like anything that's student-led, that's for students, because it's a great example of people taking matters into their own hand and being like, okay, cool, we'll just obviously university is like a microcosm for what happens in the real world. So whenever something happens, we're like, okay, cool. What can we do to change it? Okay, if we need to put together a community that focuses on that specific thing, we do it.
Yeah.
Like we had on the podcast Asha Sutton, who's the welfare and diversity officer, and she spoke about, we had this issue. We're like, okay, cool. Let's just create a campaign that tackles this issue and figure out sources. And I wish it was that easy in the outside world.
The big bad world.
Yeah, literally, because there are so many barriers, and like, whether it's resources, like you say, like money and stuff. Like I would love, my family lives in Reading and I live in Cheltenham, and it's about an hour, 40 minutes on a train. And I'm very, very lucky and privileged that my father works in National Rail, so I get free train travel.
Oh, wow.
I know. It's really, really good, you guys.
It's not what you know, see, you know.
Yeah. Exactly. So throughout university, going home to me was like, oh, cool, I'll just jump on a train and skedaddle to... it's okay. We were recording in the Park Campus living room, which is a student union space.
I feel bad when they look scared.
And so many people just like walk in and out, and they look so scared.
Do you know what? Scared by sustainability and what the future could hold.
Yeah.
She's like, nope. Yeah.
But going home for me as a student was like easy. But I knew friends who had family in like Newcastle or Durham, where for them it's like a £200 train ticket.
Overseas.
Or overseas.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I know someone who I went to uni with who...
Oh, my God.
Did your mic fall?
So the arm's fallen off.
Shall we fix that?
Should I just hold it?
Hands up if you want to fix it.
Yeah.
We can keep recording while they fix. The peanut gallery
I'll
will
try
come
and hold
help.
it as
It just
still
you know what, we'll
possible.
definitely keep this in the podcast because it's funny.
Bloopers.
But I knew people who their family used to drive down, pick them up, and drive them back out.
Yeah.
Like how
Crazy,
much, and that's like hundreds and hundreds of miles.
Absolutely.
And I used to always think, like, oh God, first of all, that sounds like such a pain in the ass. But then again, like, what else can you do?
Yeah.
But I also knew a person who, so they done this thing, right? They didn't shower.
Her mic is it fine?
I don't know.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
So they were like, oh, you're so good, like, you know, you don't have like regular showers, like you're saving energy, like you're saving the planet. And she went, what? Like, no, I just do it because I can't be bothered to shower. But like, I was just like, it's like, oh, you like your hair, like what products you put in your hair? I went, it's grease. And I went, oh, stand a confident queen, like trying to save the environment, but then it's on the flip side of, I'm still thinking about that. Can you then, if you save 10 orphans, can you push them off a cliff?
No.
Why do you always have to make
Why
it
are you so
dark?
dramatic?
Can you do that?
Wow.
No, I stand by the whole idea of you have to figure out what works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, you have to work smart and not hard. Because I can go on a tirade in my day-to-day life and be like, I'm not using plastic. I'm going to change my consuming habits, which is a whole other level of things. Like when you're a student, you get money for the first time, and you're like, I'm gonna go on ASOS. Let me go on Boohoo. Let me go on Shein.
I have no idea.
Shein. I never know how to say it. And it's like fast fashion, like the ultimate, like top level of fast fashion, and spending like £100.
Yeah.
But I did a whole piece as a student about like where your clothes come from, and it was so scary to see like the £100 that you've spent have given a big corporation like, oh, your mic keeps falling again. Oh no.
Should I just hold it like this?
Is that too much of a problem? What can we do? We'll just...
I think we'd be sustainable and leave it.
It's
so
fine.
sorry.
It's
The
okay.
microphone is shocked by the news you're unraveling here.
Yeah.
It's still shot from the bee thing at the start.
Yeah.
There's more than one bee.
Our team will fix it. It's fine. I guess going back to the idea of like how our consumer behavior affects our planet, our people, our profit. Like I definitely, as a student, when you get money for the first time, we were saying like students get money, they feel rich when like the student loan drops, and they're like, you know what, I'm gonna go
Retail
on
therapy.
retail therapy. I've been hit,
Good
which
song.
is funny because some students have been at uni for a week, and then they get the loan. They're like, oh, retail therapy. I'm
Yeah.
stressed out. But then you obviously go on like fast fashion and stuff, and I'm not like innocent. I definitely have bought stuff mainly from fast fashion brands because of accessibility, affordability.
Yeah.
And I am now more, I don't know, conscious of what I buy, and I'm trying to like buy secondhand and or like vintage stuff and things like that. Like I'm in love with vintage at the moment. It's so good.
Absolutely.
That's really it's really good on Depop. Like the stuff you don't want, like stuff that you don't treasure anymore. Maybe another person's like that's their favorite thing ever.
One man's trash is another man's treasure.
Yeah.
Or any person.
Any person. Exactly. Yes. Liz.
That's a very inclusive language.
Yes, thank you.
I'm getting so much trouble after the podcast.
No, it's good that you say that, but like, yeah, it's so true. Have you guys ever, like, I know I have, but like when you bought something from like a bad brand recently or anything, I don't expect, maybe a lot of you haven't, but like when you have, are you conscious of it? Are you conscious of it?
Yeah. I'm so guilty for like being, what's the word, hypocritical with myself for being like, I love Depop, and like even when I was younger, I loved like going around charity shops, and that wasn't because of a sustainable thing. It was just it's cheap and it's fun, and like getting new unique things. And like so many times I've deleted the ASOS and the Zara app from my phone, and then I've ended up getting them back and sneakily buying something, and I'm like, it's kind of one of those things where you're like, okay, maybe I don't have to like go cold turkey and like completely get rid of it, but I'll just slowly cut down, and then like be more intentional. And I'm like, I'll buy more on, or try and not give into like, especially with fashion, like micro trends. Like that was something like
100%.
I'm a lot better with it now, but like a couple of years ago I was like, I've got so many different styles I want to wear, like I need to constantly be buying stuff, and then I'd buy so much stuff on like ASOS and then wear it once and never wear it ever again. And so sold all of that on Depop, and like now I'm a bit more like better with that. So I'm like, if I do buy something, I like look for it on Depop first, always. But if there's something I really, really want, I will still buy it. And I do feel guilty about it.
But, like, again,
I still do it.
But it's like the whole idea of like doing what's suitable for your life. Like,
and I hope that one day I wouldn't be able to. And as well, like being a uni student and not having loads of money is like there's still more like research that I would need to do, but trying to find sustainable brands that are actually sustainable and not greenwashing. I'm like, for
they're
like
expensive.
A plain white t-shirt, like they're so much more expensive, and I'm like, at the moment I can't afford that. I hope I can one day, but right now I couldn't fill my whole wardrobe with that.
I definitely, going on like the whole idea of like sustainable brands or ethical brands being more expensive, it in a way made me feel more guilty whenever I've actually seen how much they cost. So I'm like, so what is the true price of the stuff I'm wearing?
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
there's a reason why it's so cheap.
It's so cheap because, like, again, like you say, the whole idea of like people aspect of sustainability.
People aspect, yeah.
So I'm now like, whenever I buy something from ASOS, I'm like, where's this being made? Who's making it? How is it affecting their life? And then I put it on my skin. I'm like, I feel guilty.
But I think it's good that we feel so uncomfortable about it, though.
I mean, if anything, it makes us more conscious of it than how people would have been years and years ago.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
I feel like for me, a big part of it was I watched this Stacey Dooley documentary, or she was in it, the BBC documentarian. She went out to a third world country, and she was part of these sweatshops where things are made for Nike and Adidas and such, and just the conditions that they were in. And then you kind of look at like, well, my purchase is fueling this.
Yeah.
And when you look at it like the vicious cycle, it doesn't, I don't want to shop after that. I was like, as a kid, like you get hand-me-down stuff, and it's kind of looked down on like, if you have an older brother, if you have an older brother, it's like, I have to wear what like he had to wear, like he has been in these clothes. But like you look back on it now and you go, that's such a, it was cheap for like your parents, it's cheap, but also like for you being a better, I mentioned on the podcast with Asher, better global citizen, and you're not feeding into this cycle of like fast fashion, taking advantage of poverty, and then like back around.
100%.
So shout out Stacey Dooley.
So it's so funny you mentioned the hand-me-down thing, because like I just said that you love it. I love it so much. My friends and I are going to see Harry Styles in June, doesn't matter. But we were like, we should all like dress up in a like together, like be coordinated and whatnot. And then we said to ourselves, because this is a very, I don't know, wasteful thing of us to do, we made like a pack that the stuff that we're going to get for the concert has to be from Vinted or Depop or like charity shop. It has to be secondhand. Because like, what's the point of us buying stuff from ASOS for a one night only kind of occasion?
I really love Lena Norms on YouTube, and she does these like trends where she'll like dress like Devil Wears Prada characters for a week, but she only ever gets the outfits from Depop and only ever like buys it
Interesting.
if she would actually continue wearing it and not just for the video. Because like there's so many videos like that where it's like dressing like Clueless for a week, but like she does it with stuff from Depop and like all stuff in her own wardrobe. And
this is where like sustainability
it's so inspiring.
Can get quite interesting though, because sometimes obviously the environmental impact and social implications of like Nike and some of these big brands, which, you know, workers' rights, and also I can't remember what it was. I did an article in my second year, and I think it was like one shirt is equivalent to driving like 300 miles in a car. Just one shirt, something like that.
Horrible.
Terrible.
Takes my shirt off.
Or strip. But it's interesting because people are like, okay, well in that case, I'm only going to buy from like sustainable places. But the true nature of sustainability is, well, first and foremost, try and reduce what you're spending. So even if it's a case of, okay, well, I'm going to go to a charity shop because I'm reusing things, I'm not buying brand new. Yeah. Because some people are like, well, I've bought this tote bag and I'm going to buy another tote bag because they're great for the environment. I'm like, but you're still adding, and it's still a part of consumerism, when the best thing you can do is actually don't buy it at all, reduce what you're actually spending. And that even goes for these shops which are sustainable and environmentally friendly. The best thing you can do for that shop is reduce how much you buy from it, because ultimately you're still getting stuff.
Be less of a consumer.
And it can still end up in terrible places, regardless of how ethically sourced it's been.
Yeah.
No, after you.
There's a whole kind of like aesthetic around like I watched like a bunch of videos and I was like, you know, when you get in like this obsessive 2 a.m. mode where you're like, I need to like change my life now.
Need to buy jars and use refillable plastic.
And I was watching so many how to be more sustainable, like tour of my sustainable kitchen videos, and thinking like, oh, I need to like get these, you know, they're pouring shampoo into like a different pot, or like getting instead of using like these kitchen sponges, like use this, or instead of using the Tupperware you've already got, throw it away and like buy these metal things. And I was like, and for a bit I was like, oh, I need to get this, and it needs to like look like all of my kitchen equipment needs to be brown and green and like it needs to look like sustainable. And I was like, actually that's so much worse than just using
it's consumerism.
what you have. And consumerism, and there's like that whole prettiness to it that you're like, oh, it needs to look pretty, and then I feel good about myself, and actually that's,
it needs to look like it's made from, like it came from earth.
Links back to greenwashing again.
Yes,
that's where a lot of those elements come back around too.
Exactly. Like I've definitely fallen in that trap of like, on TikTok I see people like, here is how I make sure to use refillable products, and I'm like, okay, cool, but you're using bad quality containers that you will need to replace at some point. And they look lovely and they like very anthropology and whatnot, but what's the point?
It was stuff like, I was like, oh, I need to get rid of my toothbrush to get like a bamboo one, and like bamboo ones are great, but I'm like, there's nothing wrong with the one I've already got. So why get rid of it?
Something that I would love to talk about, because I think our listeners would be interested in knowing more. Obviously in 2021 we had this big summit, the COP26 happened, and I remember hearing about it in the news, in newspapers, on social, like it was literally everywhere. And then I remember being like, what the hell is it? What is it? Like, what's actually happening? What came out of it? I don't think till this day I understand exactly what happened, but the big conversation is about the UK going net zero with carbon emissions. And then like as a university, we've also committed to being net zero in carbon emissions by 2030. What is net zero? How? And which I know is like another loaded question, but I think listeners and watchers would love to know what is.
Yeah, that's another tick of the jargon one gone.
I'm so sorry.
You're spoiling the game.
I am really spoiling the game. We'll play something else.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting one because there's a lot of talk about net zero in the media, and people are like, "Oh, cool, yeah, that's great. What is it?" And like how zero is net zero and all that stuff. But net zero is essentially having a balance within our atmosphere. So the emissions we pump into the atmosphere equals what we take out. So it's in balance. So we don't have any more, we don't take any less out, because with carbon dioxide, for example, it's not a bad thing. And this is another thing. People are like, we need to take carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. No, we don't. Because if we didn't have carbon in the atmosphere, the Earth would be inhospitable. It'd be about 15 degrees colder than what it currently is.
Oh, wow.
So it'd be below freezing. So carbon does keep it in an environment which we can thrive and survive. It's just, too much of a good thing, which is the problem. So that's why... And obviously, it'd be great if we could just, emit nothing, and the Earth could do its natural cycles of pumping, the carbon cycle and all that. But we know we can't do that. So the best thing that we can do to get to that stage is to go net zero. So we don't pump any more in than what we can take out, and we keep it in a balance. And that's what we're trying to aim to get to. How successful that was at COP26, I'm not too sure, because it's quite funny.
I have no idea.
All these world leaders, they flew in with private jets, for Christ's sake. So yeah, it's a difficult one. I didn't really keep up to date with COP26.
Didn't Boris Johnson get a plane from London to Newquay?
Something like that, yeah.
Oh my God.
For a COP, which is just hilarious. But probably because the train is so expensive, it's probably cheaper to fly.
He couldn't afford it. I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago now. Was it? I think it's while I was at university. Well, I still am, but I still am. Yeah. I've already left. It was Volkswagen, the German car company, got fined heavily for falsifying emissions. I want to say they falsified their emissions report. I think I'm correct on that.
All the time.
And again, it's like I feel like companies think it's either profit or sustainability, but can it be both? That's my question. Can you be both profitable and sustainable?
Yeah, well, it's kind of one of the 3 pillars of sustainability, and I mean, it's where we have to go to ultimately, and we need to change our ways. And you can be profitable and also be sustainable for the people and the wider planet at the same time. And ultimately, as a university, that's where we're going to as well. We're putting the planet first. It can be done. I think because some people see it as a really hard thing to change when they're like, but we've always done it this way. Like, they see it as, why fix something if it's not broken? But the point is, it's smashed to smithereens. Like, it needs fixing. And ultimately, it's within our best interests to live in a more sustainable world. I was having a bit of a discussion a couple of days ago with a friend, and they was kind of saying, but, sustainability is so hard, and I just can't be bothered. And I was like, well, it's within our best interest, because imagine this. If we were in a society which was sustainable, we were at net zero, we had a thriving ecosystem, we are better prepared to predict what the future is going to look like. We have some amazing climate scientists, some absolute superb scientists who've dedicated their life's research on climate change. But even then, they only have ideas and projections of what the future is going to look like. So it's within our own interest, and we have a better understanding of what our future could be like if we just went net zero and had a thriving biodiverse ecosystem than if we carry on the path we're on at the moment. And I think businesses, politicians, leaders, individuals all have something to play a part in that to ultimately get to that. And I mean, I hope it gets to that stage in my lifetime. I'll be very disappointed because I'll be like, ugh.
All of that for nothing.
Yeah.
No, but it's also...
And it does affect people. Like, I've spoken to people and they're like, I'm not even sure if I want to have children at the moment because... you shouldn't have to
That is a big conversation. It happens in my friendship group.
Yeah. Sarah, you're 4. You shouldn't be thinking about stuff like this. But I recently there's a book at Waterstones I want to get, and it's like what things we could do realistically with 1 billion. And one of the things, there's like each chapter's a different thing. One of them with 1 billion is that we could redesign our planet in a sustainable way as opposed to what we have now. But instead, with £1 billion, we're doing silly things like Big Ben, for instance. I don't know how much that costs, but gold plating Big Ben is...
They basically made it balloon.
4 billion. So we could redesign the planet 4 times.
Love that. Well, don't love it, but love the idea of it.
Yeah.
But it just, again, it's like you said earlier, it's about world leaders, big corporations as well. The top 1% have to actually enact the change, but they will not do that until the general population reacts to it. This is why it's funny that you ask, like, is sustainability and profitability, do they go hand in hand? I think at some point, if you're not sustainable, you're not going to become profitable. And I really hope it reaches that point, because audiences or users or consumers like us will hopefully, fingers crossed, reach a point where every decision they're making is for the sake of the planet. And I think a lot of people are doing that.
I feel like it kind of got to a point where you can't really have a good excuse for it anymore. It's
whenever I go, this is a really random thing, but sorry to interrupt you, but whenever I go to any bar or any restaurant and they give me a plastic straw, I am immediately being like, what the hell is this?
Carrot mode engaged.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, I'm like, oh, it's biodegradable. I'm like, for how long?
Or
How does it take to biodegrade?
I always just think, like, in supermarkets, if you can have this fruit and veg be loose, why can't all of it?
Oh, that is my pet peeve.
It sounds like, and then I'm like, is that a dumb question? Like, is that a dumb question? But then it's like, surely
because it's important.
Yeah.
So this is a whole different conversation. This is a whole different hour for us to talk about it. It's like the implications of actually using native resources compared to imported resources and how it affects it. But yeah, that's a whole different conversation. But I love what you just said about kind of profit and where we need to be, and the idea just that we have to. Like, we need to get there at some point.
Yeah.
And I do hope it's in our lifetime.
And I'm not saying, like, sustainability is the most profitable way to be, because being honest, like, businesses may take a bit of a hit to begin with. Like, there's this new thing at the moment called regenerative agriculture, where farmers are starting to use more sustainable practices on their farm. So, like, giving space back to wildlife. Yeah, the fact is, you're going to lose a bit of land and you're going to lose a bit of money, but it enables you to keep on farming, because I can't remember what it is, but they said we've only got so many years of farming left because our soil's in such poor health that they're just not going to be able to support the growth of plants. So, regenerative agriculture is where we need to be if you want to keep on farming, kind of thing. So it kind of works in that way.
It goes hand in hand.
And hand in hand. It may take a bit of money away and it may take a bit of time transitioning, but it enables and it allows the future of your business to carry on thriving into a future that no one can predict. So it's just trying to meet that balance.
So in short, we should all get Teslas given to us for free.
I can't even drive.
I mean, either, but I'd like one.
You have the most sustainable vehicle, though. The most sustainable vehicle is no vehicle at all.
Is your mind.
Well, the bad thing is like, I get taxis everywhere. So.
Helicopters.
So, like, what's the problem? But we'll definitely have another conversation at some point, and then you can always kind of get in touch with us on social. Will, thank you so much for coming on to talk in the podcast. But before you go, I know that we've kind of spoiled two of the words. So we had greenwashing and net zero.
Yes.
But we asked you to prepare like a jargon buster, because obviously sustainability is full of a lot of scientific terms, a lot of heavy terms. But you said that you prepped some words. I've ruined two of them.
I love how we were like, we're not going to know them. Like, I doubt we're going to know them.
I know, and I'm very, very sorry. So what words have you got?
Well, I'll think of one whilst I give you the first one, just to kind of, But one of them is kind of ended on a good note. So there's a word that we use, and it's called social prescribing.
Oh, I actually have no idea what that means.
Is that when you are given social interaction for the benefit of your mind?
Hit the nail on the head. That's exactly it.
Oh my God, wow.
So, like, just to give a bit of context, so... Oh God, if you went to the doctors historically and you said, I feel really crap about my mental state, they would have given you medication. And ultimately...
It's in your head.
Yeah, all those kind of things.
Or they would give you a book.
Here's a tablet.
Like, don't sweat small stuff.
All that.
All the cat posts are like, hang in there.
Like, there you go.
Keep calm, carry on.
Next patient, please. Traditionally, they would have just given you some tablets and, a prescription that you would have had for like years and years and years and years and years. But and that was just a bit of like what they was standard. But recently, there's this thing called social prescribing, which was ad hoc advice, but now is coming into standard practice with general practices and doctors, and they'll actually prescribe you with activities. So it could be that, well, join this local community group. They go out and they do gardening, they walk through forests and things, and like getting yourself in nature has been proven to reduce anxiety by 26%, and people that get involved in those certain activities report excellent well-being. Around about 30% of those cohorts are doing that. So that social prescribing is doing something which it's really good for you. There's no immediate effect to the planet, and it also saves money to the economy because we're not prescribing these medications. But it could be in the form of anything. It's not just nature-based. It could be art therapy classes. It could be doing something with a friend. I recently told someone about this, and they was like, I didn't know about this.
Yeah, I had no clue.
They contacted their doctor, and they got like a discounted gym thing. I don't want to say that so people are like, I want a discounted gym membership. But there was something like that. And I mean, the person that went has a long record with the doctors, and they're seeing amazing improvements in their mental well-being.
That's pretty cool.
Because of social prescribing.
I want a forest walking club.
Yeah.
Should we start one?
So we should.
I think there's a society called Nature Walks Society. And I guess they go on nature walks.
I love that.
I mean, I would imagine so.
One of my favourite societies at UOG is the Botanical Society.
Botanical. They're amazing.
Are you part of it?
I'm not part of it, but I've worked very closely with them, and they're a really good society in terms of sustainability. They really measure their impact, like ensuring they only collaborate with like individual partnerships, and they bring in the kind of well-being side of things. They're like, hey, let's go into Pittville and identify some trees. And I'm like, that's amazing.
That's so wholesome.
Isn't it great? And yeah, we have so many members of that society come to our events because we've obviously got our own community of students, LiveSmart community. We have a WhatsApp group if anyone wants to get involved, where we kind of share information of blogs that they can write and events that they're doing. And so many of those are part of the Botanical Society. Like, we just love it. Like,
I love that.
Go to that, then we come to your events and we just feel amazing.
It's the whole idea of like when you come to a university or like UOG specifically, you can get involved in everything.
Yeah,
it's up to you. What you put into I always say, what you put into university, whether it's the University of Gloucestershire or wherever you are in the world, what you put in is what you get out of it.
Absolutely.
So I like that.
Yeah.
Have you got any other words, or have we stunted you with figuring out the first two?
Yeah, I think that's me done. I had prepared, like I said, net zero, social prescribing, greenwashing.
But we've covered them.
We've covered them.
That's the important thing.
It's still been achieved.
I love that social prescribing one. I've literally never heard of that before.
Honestly, do some research.
I'm going to call my doctor.
So many things. Hi, I need a membership.
But it's just so cool that that's actually like, I don't know. We've spoken about mental health on the podcast multiple times.
Yeah.
But it's the whole classic idea of sometimes actually not being able to access resources or being scared to access resources from trauma of going to GPs and being told that it's in your head, or like, you know what, you'll be fine, take some antidepressants and you'll be okay. So it's really, really cool to think that this is actually like a new wave of like medicine that's holistic and tangible. Yeah,
definitely. And I'm not on here saying like don't take medication, like trees are your savior. If you need it, absolutely, please go do you, babe. But like, there's been so many times I've felt really down this year, and I've got this weird thing where I just go up to trees and I just touch them.
I love that.
And I tell you what,
the most LiveSmart thing you could have said to me.
And just like smell the bark, and it's just incredible. I think there's even studies which say like there's an improvement in your immunity just walking through a woodland, because you just feel so superior. And when you got bird song, it's just incredible. I'm actually going to go for a walk after this podcast.
I'm going to go and literally touch a tree. There is a tree. I don't know what it's
consensually.
Called. I'm going to touch a tree consensually. There is a tree in Park. I think we were talking about it in the office the other day. It's really, really old and it's huge, but it's got soft bark. And I do sometimes I don't smoke anymore, but when I used to smoke underneath that tree just so I can touch the soft bark. I don't know. It sounds like a really weird thing to do, but
whereabouts is it?
It's right opposite Elwes building. It's a massive
pine.
Yeah, it's Scots really
pine,
soft. And I'm like, I used to just press it. And that's weird. But
that is a native tree as well.
Is
so
it?
Native tree, yeah.
But I love that. Like, it's like you say, like when you touch a tree, you feel good. I used to just sit there.
Yeah.
Granted, I was getting well-being through the tree by touching it, but the other hand had a cigarette in it. Yeah. So maybe that wasn't that
give
good.
and take.
Yeah, but
that's why you smoked.
That's why I smoked.
Just an excuse to touch the tree.
I can't wait for the study next week that says like sniffing trees gives you a high or something like that. You actually just go around all day like.
We're also not promoting smoking.
Yeah, please don't smoke. I've quit smoking. It's one of the best things I've ever done. So yeah, please don't smoke. Yeah,
once again, we like to unaffiliate ourselves with everything that Yushin says. No, not everything. But you're quite clever.
I am quite, thank you.
Yeah, no.
But also, Will, thank you so much for coming on to Behind the Uni. This was such a fun episode. I wasn't sure where it was going to head, but like we've discussed a lot of stuff. If any prospective students or current students from the University of Gloucestershire want to get involved in LiveSmart, want to get involved in the sustainability efforts at the university, what could they do? How could they get in touch?
Yes, so I mean, you can head to our website, so you can check out our blog, unigloss.blog/LiveSmart. I said it earlier in the program as well. But also we're on social media, so we're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. You can follow us on there to keep up to date with new things we're doing, future events, etc. And also if you want to be part of the LiveSmart community gang, there's like a gang of like-minded students, but they're not all like, whoa, recycling is so woke. They're all like, yeah, I'm really interested in equality. And there's another people who's like, yeah, but I'm really interested in water scarcity. And they all come together and share this amazing idea. And they're ultimately the people we go to and be like, write this blog for us. So yeah, just drop us a line on one of those. We can put you in touch with that, and also share with you how you can get involved in more LiveSmarty things whilst your time at university.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And it's just started raining. So I guess
The second you mentioned water scarcity,
Yeah.
just starts
Raining.
raining.
It was planned. Estates is out there with a tap on.
it's actually, it's just estates with like a hose. Hosing down. But I guess, again, thank you so much for coming. And as always, thank you so much for listening to Behind the Uni. We're here every week discussing everything related to university life, whether it's sustainability or mental health or saving some pennies. You can reach us at Uni of Gloss on all social media, or if you would like to get involved with LiveSmart, get in touch with them on Instagram. It's at UOG Sustainability, I believe, yes. And again, thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. We like to do something at the end. We like to say goodbye to that camera. So
At the same time.
Yeah, at the same time. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.